our last huddle. Can you believe it? We're here already. And we have three amazing speakers today. Alexandra Furr, who's the Safety Net Resource Coordinator at Nashville Humane Association, has used her lived experience, zealous passion, love of research, and innovative drive to build, revitalize, and grow programs like Temporary Care, Welcome Home, Training Forever, Food Bank, and more, partnering with more than 16 human service agencies, supporting an average of 2,400 families annually with these services. Then we also have Holly Faccenda, who's the foster manager at Kitsap Humane Society in Washington. She leads the foster efforts at Kitsap Humane Society, and that shelter is known as the Tiny Shelter That Could in Silverdale, Washington. She entered animal welfare about 10 years ago as a volunteer for her local shelter, Tacoma Humane Society. While attending school to complete her PhD in neuroscience, she began volunteering to give back to her community. Between her undergraduate and graduate programs, she leapt at the opportunity to become an adoption counselor and then left academia to pursue a career in animal welfare. She's truly found her niche in foster and is passionate about breaking down barriers so that every home can be a foster home. And lastly, we have Jorge Ortega, who is the executive director at Guilford County Animal Services in Greensboro, North Carolina. He has spent his career building, developing, and leading teams during his 25 plus years in animal welfare. He's worked as VP of Operations and Senior Director of Operations for several progressive animal welfare organizations and has been successful in building strategic partnerships and community programs that help decrease animal intake. And he has served as a board member on several animal-focused organizations and played a key role in the development of two successful regional conferences, Texas Unites and Carolinas Unite. All right, Alexandra and Holly and Jorge, take it away.
I guess I will go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Holly Faccenda, and I am the foster manager at Kitsap Humane Society. We are a shelter located in Silverdale, Washington. A little bit about us. We are an open intake shelter for strays within our community, and then a managed intake for owner surrenders and trap cats within our community, which just means we ask for appointments for those things. Our vision is that every adoptable companion animal has a home, and one of the ways we do that is through our robust foster program. And we really started seeing growth in our program when we started cultivating what we like to call a foster first mindset shelter-wide. And this just means that everyone in the shelter is being more proactive about considering foster placement sooner in an animal stay. So whether that's pinpointing behaviors that tend not to do well in shelter and then getting that animal into foster before it becomes a barrier, or arranging foster placement for an animal before they arrive to the shelter. So if we have a transfer or an owner surrender animal coming in that has particular needs that we think we might have a difficult time supporting in shelter. And this foster first mindset has been really important as we're actively trying to switch to a foster-centric model of sheltering. And then kind of looking at foster inclusivity for the animals in our care and keeping this foster first mindset in mind, we place pretty much every animal that we can into foster. So everyone has like equal opportunity to go into foster. Looking at our medical fosters, we place everything from like basic medical, so animals healing post-dental or extractions, post-amputation, to getting animals that are pan-Luc or parvo positive or were potentially exposed to those things in foster homes. And by potentially exposed, I'm kind of referring to animals that were either housed or in close proximity to animals that ended up testing positive for pan-Luc or parvo. For the animals that were potentially exposed, they go into foster and are on a Panluke and Parvo watch until they can be adopted. Some of these animals do end up developing Panluke or Parvo, and in which case we have a great foster team who is likely to keep them in foster for their treatment, or hopefully they remain asymptomatic and we can adopt them out after their observation period. For the animals that are being treated for Panluke or Parvo in foster, we provide the foster parents with everything. So foster parents, we provide them with medications, we provide them with PPE, so gowns, hats, gloves, booties, anything that's going to keep their home safe from the spread of the virus. We also provide all training for foster parents. So all the foster parents who foster Panluke or Parvo animals for us get all the training on how to administer the needed medications. And we're also really sure that we provide clear guidelines on what foster parents should be monitoring for and then when they should become concerned. We also have a 24-hour medical emergency line that routes to one of our veterinarians, so a foster parent can get a hold of someone at any time during the day. So similar to Panluke and Parvo, we place animals that are ringworm positive or potentially exposed into foster. 2 years ago, we did a big demystifying ringworm campaign with our foster pool, which included a letter and materials curated by our veterinarians that just goes over what ringworm is, how it's treated, why it really isn't as scary as we all make it out to be, and then also why it's so important to get these animals into foster homes for their treatment. And we ended up recruiting a lot of ringworm fosters as a result of that campaign, and we now call them our ringworm rock stars. We also noticed that if an animal is already in foster and then they end up popping with ringworm, that these fosters have already developed a bond with those animals, so they're likely to keep fostering them throughout their treatment if we're giving them the proper support. So similar to like all of our medical fosters, we provide them with all the necessary supplies and training. We noticed that our biggest barrier to keeping ringworm animals in foster is dips. And if anyone's done a lime sulfur dip, you know exactly why that would be. So if dips are truly a barrier to the animal staying in foster, we will bring the animals back to the shelter twice weekly for their dips, and staff will do them here. And we're happy to do that because the foster parents are providing the rest of the treatment needed, and the animals are still ultimately out of the shelter. And I think we all know, getting animals that are Panluke, Parvo, and ringworm positive into foster homes allows for better recovery of the animals, frees up staff time, minimizes the potential for spread throughout the shelter, and then allows for continued socialization. And this is especially important when we're looking at young kittens and puppies who are in that critical socialization period that we wouldn't be able to give at the shelter if they were being treated. We also have a robust kitten and puppy program, and I would say this is definitely our strength as a foster program at KHS. The kitten and puppy fosters have really created a community of support, and we've kind of helped facilitate this by having a foster Facebook page. This isn't something that's exclusive to kitten and puppy fosters, but they are super active on there, always posting pictures, offering support and advice to each other. We as foster staff also make it a point to be very active on the Facebook page to continue engagement. So we post there about 3 times a week. We'll post like little tips and tricks, success stories of foster parents and whatnot. We also have a group of foster mentors that help support new foster parents or foster parents who are taking on a complicated medical case for the first time, taking on bottle babies for the first time. And we are always offering continued education in training classes. So bottle baby classes, socialization classes, there's always room to add another skill to your toolbox, as I like to say. And then this year we started something really cool called the Bottle Brigade, which is an internal volunteer program. And it's an on-call volunteer position. So if we get bottle babies into the shelter, we can call upon our bottle brigade. They'll come in, help feed the animals while we arrange foster placement. And we're hoping with like the handling of animals and gaining confidence with caring for neonatal animals that will create foster parents out of this. The dog foster program is really, though, like what we've been focusing on growing and improving the past year, especially when it comes to placing dogs with behavior needs into foster. Something that we've noticed is it's really beneficial to offer a variety of options and ways that people can get involved. And I know this is something a lot of people talk about, but it's really true. Some of the options that we have on fostering dogs is our Kicking It with Canine program. This is a daily outing program. We did put it on pause due to COVID, but we hope to reopen it soon, so I wanted to mention it. We have a sleepover and weekend break program, which is pretty self-explanatory. Animals can, or dogs can go on a sleepover, so an overnight or a weekend break. And then we have shelter breaks, which we consider like a 1 to 2 week break from the shelter. And then we also have long-term foster, which is several weeks or until the animal is adopted. We are also always emphasizing that fostering is flexible and that any home can be a foster home. And this is especially true with these different options. We also cast a wide net. So all of our dog foster requests get sent out to all fosters, all volunteers, all staff. And we also have started dipping our toes in promoting dogs in need of foster on our social media pages to the public. And then with that, we also have a very quick onboarding process. It's all online and we try to get people, up and going really quickly after they apply. Behavior foster, like I said, we're really focusing on placing more dogs with behavior needs into foster. And we've been doing this in a few ways. So by offering a lot of short-term options, we've noticed that more people are inclined to open up their homes to dogs with more behavior needs. And this is because I think they don't have to commit to something long-term initially. And then this is more of a mindset shift internally, is realizing that people want to help, so we should let them help. And people learn by doing. I heard that in a webinar, I want to say like a few months ago, that people learn by doing. And I liked it so much that I wrote it on a sticky note and I put it on my computer. And what I mean by that is not limiting yourself to a few select foster parents who can take these animals with behavior needs, but instead giving people the information on the dog, letting them decide, and then giving them all the support. And in these cases, we usually suggest like a short-term option before they get into anything long-term. And this often builds the foster parent's confidence and then potentially allows them to take another dog with behavior needs in the future. We also have a behavior department that is actively growing. So we have 3 full-time behavior staff at KHS, one of them being a certified dog trainer. And they work really closely with the foster department and with fosters that have dogs with behavior needs. They're always offering support to our fosters, and they're often on the foster meets to speak directly with the foster parents about the dog's behavior. We also utilize Zoom and email support. We started Zoom support during COVID, and we liked it so much that we've just carried it over. And it really allows for like one-on-one training. You can see the behavior that the foster parent is noticing and then offer them training support live. So it's been really awesome to have that tool. And then we also send customized training plans home with foster parents. Our behavior department also has monthly training classes that go over like canine body language and handling skills. So again, there's always a chance for continued education and skill building for our foster parents. We've also dipped our toes into incentivizing taking, our harder to place animals, our behavior dogs, our Panluke and Parvo animals, our ringworm kiddos, by having like foster specific swag for those foster parents. We've recently, I brought it with me, recently got lawn signs made that say like, I'm a KHS foster parent. And so we're using that as an incentive for people to take these harder to place animals, but we're also working with our marketing team to get other swag made. So stickers, t-shirts that are only available to, foster parents who are taking these animals. Specifically for dogs, we're also hoping to get a foster focused play group here at the shelter for behavior dogs within the next year. And then kind of switching gears and looking at some of our community partnerships, I would say our biggest partner is with Mission Creek Correction Center. We've been partnering with them since 2015 for our Positive Prison Project. And we currently use this by sending cats and kittens to Mission Creek until they're ready for adoption. They have feline caretakers there, and they have the animals in dog quarters. They're responsible for taking care of them, including feeding, cleaning, monitoring, communicating any concerns to the proper staff and getting that info to us. This is a paid job for these individuals, and it has a huge positive impact on them and our animals. And it's really cool to see how their quarters are become solely dedicated to the animals, with boxes everywhere and cat food and kittens running all over the place. So it's a really cool program. To make it really easy on them, we provide everything. So we provide transportations to and from the prison. We provide all supplies, medications, prescription diets, training, monitoring tools. Again, we make it super easy. We also have the ability to administer boosters and hold trainings on site at the prison, which is something that's really helpful with kittens. And our hopes for the future as COVID restrictions continue to lift is to build this partnership and to eventually send small animals and dogs to Mission Creek. For the dogs, we're kind of thinking of sending individualized training plans so they can work on some basic house manner skills. So, yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you've got, Holly.
I know, that's all I wanted.
That is quite a robust program.
Yeah.
I think that is amazing. If anybody has questions for Holly, be sure to put them in the chat, and we will have time for Q&A in a little bit.
Okay.
And Alexandra, floor's all yours.
So I'm the Safety Net Resource Coordinator at Nashville Humane. My role centers around pets in the community. So I am going to chat you our foster coordinators and traditional foster program details, just because she is incredible. I'm so proud of our traditional foster program, but my role mainly centers on our crisis fostering program and our human service partnerships. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So we said 16 when we signed up, but we actually have roughly 18 human service partnerships in Davidson County, with these partnerships continuing to grow. And that is an effort to preserve and celebrate the human-animal bond. With temporary care, our crisis fostering program supporting up to 90 days of fostering for crises such as transitional homelessness due to fleeing domestic violence, loss of income, change in family status, house fire, natural disaster, and hospitalization and rehabilitation with planned dates for entry and exit. Our human service partnerships are largely advocacy groups supporting those experiencing homelessness and domestic violence. However, also include mental health organizations, veteran affairs, local food banks, shower mobiles, LGBT plus advocacy groups, and more. Our Welcome Home program works in conjunction with our temporary care program, and it provides pet deposit support, pet food, and pet supplies to those newly housed. Is only available through temporary care, so people who have had their pets in our crisis fostering program, and pet families referred through HMIS participating agencies. And on the partner end, offers bulk pet food and pet supplies to emergency and transitional shelters. And that's to increase co-housing efforts in Davidson County. And we were actually, so for our winter shelters, we actually made those winter shelters co-housing efforts possible. So they were able to accept both people and pets, and no one had to choose between being in the cold or, getting the shelter they needed. We became an HMIS, short for Homeless Management Information System, participating agency at the beginning of the year, which was deeply exciting for us and such an honor. That was after being approved by a committee of human service partner organizations and agencies. And this allows us to refer our clients to rapid rehousing, Section 8, connector cards, urban housing solutions, and more, while also ensuring we are connected with local advocacy groups and human services to meet both ends of the leash. Which is so deeply important, caring equally for pets and people. Exploring what resources gap exists for our clients, who who we can work with to fill these gaps and who is filling the gaps if they're being filled. To foster for temporary care or crisis fostering program, you must be 18, a resident of Davidson County or surrounding counties, just within an hour's drive of shelter, and just have a passion for keeping pets with the families who love them. We definitely want like minds, people who are passionate for the work involved. And we supply our fosters with everything they need to have the most fulfilling experience possible. That including vetting, pet food, pet supplies, behavior and training guidance, updates on the family they're supporting where applicable, and photos of reunited families provided along the way. We are proud to have fosters from all walks of life, with fosters specific to temporary care being 7 dozen and growing. And this phenomenal network of fosters often spreading the word when needs arise and playing a great hand in our families' reunions and success thereafter. That was a quick spiel. But we are just so excited for our human service partnerships and how influential and impactful they've been, specifically for our crisis fostering program. Our caseworkers that we typically work with are able to apply on their clients' behalf, which is fantastic for reducing barriers. A lot of our clients may not have continual access to phones, emails, etc., so they can always work with us in that way. Or clients can apply directly themselves. So we don't require a caseworker, but we always do connect to care where able. And we are in year 3 of offering this. The first year was our pilot year, and we did at that point require a caseworker, just because we wanted to ensure everyone, had as much support as possible. We were still figuring things out. I'm more than happy on the Pet Forum chat to connect on things that worked, things that didn't, because we've learned a lot along the way. But it has been so incredible. And I would definitely say, human service partnerships, it's not obviously, again, no one on this chat, right? It's all about supporting the people and the pets, and just having that alliance, that partnership, that mutual advocacy, really helps to ensure best outcomes for all.
That's great. Thanks so much, Alexandra. Sounds like an amazing program. And 3 years in, that's really awesome.
It's been an exciting journey. So I would say the average, we provide up to 90 days, but the average right now is somewhere between 60 and 70. Right now, we've actually had a lot of early reclaims, which is so exciting. And I would say for those connected to a caseworker, their outcome is always 100% like reunions. In 2021, we ended at 85% reunited. And that 15% that were not reunited were rehabilitation, hospitalization related. And that did teach us planning for entry, exit dates, having those available, because those cases were unfortunately chronic. And so I think it was a lot harder for those families to find resolve within that time frame. But we also do offer extensions where able. Again, the max is 90 days, but we have someone who recently needed foster support for 45, and then that turned into 90. So we extended that to provide that support.
Yeah, that's really, really great. So what happens when somebody hits that 90 days?
Yeah, so the hope is that they're reunited. Obviously, there are instances where just life's difficulties are too much and they just need to prioritize care for themselves, their families. We do work with individuals and families. We have in special instances granted extensions beyond 90 days, but we do try again. It's a very resource intensive program, and it's very collaborative and same, not just with our human service partnerships, but with the pet family themselves and our fosters. So typically that's not needed, but we always do provide as much support as possible.
Oh, fantastic. That is great.
And on that note, I will say a lot of our human service partnerships, I think it can be a bit daunting, right? Partnering with all of these human service partners, they're your animal welfare. Why are we even connecting? Why are we even talking? But we have found, again, it to be so influential, impactful, all of the good. And a lot of this just came from cold emails, cold calls, hey, I'm Alexandra. I work with, our community programming to preserve the human animal bond. That plays such a significant role in your client's mental, physical, emotional health. How can we work together? We have other partnership programs that, we work with our partners on. But really and truly, a lot of times it's as simple as reaching out. And I mean, they have been more collaborative than I could ever speak to. So a lot of times it's literally just like making the call, getting connected, and just like speaking to what you do or hope to do.
That's awesome. All right, I'm getting word that Jorge is joining us. Jorge, are you here yet?
I am. I'm here.
Awesome. Oh, I see you. There you are. Great. Welcome. Would you like to take the floor and give us your presentation real quick?
Sure. I guess I'm more of a ask me questions and I'll kind of tell you the story on where we're at and what we're doing. But real quick, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jorge. I'm the Animal Services Director for Guilford County Animal Services in Greensboro, North Carolina. We are a municipal organization, so we are the only municipal county shelter for Guilford County, which is 650 square miles with a population of about 600,000 people. We have very little support from other like humane societies or SPCAs. We have a lot of transfer partners, smaller rescue organizations that help us with pet placement. But for the most part, we have had to restructure or reimagine who we are as animal services. I joined Guilford County in 2018. And in the last 4 years, we have been kind of changing the imaging or the branding of who we are as animal services. And again, like we say a lot in this field, with animal control, we're just changing the image from, we're not just a dog catcher, but we are a resource to the community. So when we're looking at our foster program is fairly new. We've only had a foster coordinator for about a year and a half now, and her name is Kendall Federico. She would be here joining me on this presentation, but she is at a sister county, Iredell County, attending a Dogs Playing for Life seminar. It's a 2-day seminar that Iredell County invited us to attend. So I have 2 staff members there and she's one, because we want to introduce Dogs Playing for Life to our foster families and to our volunteers. So it's me talking about our foster program and what we do in the community and how we partner with our community. I think the big thing that we've done within Guilford County is that we have developed a written partnership or a written agreement with the First Methodist Church, one of the Methodist churches here in Greensboro. And we have actually moved into the church. We have an office space within the church that helps us actually reach our citizens in one of the areas that we get most of our calls for service, especially for dogs running at large, for bite situations, noise complaints. And so what we decided to do was partner with the church and really get to know our neighbors in that community specifically. The population is about 800 and so families that live within that community. And it's really given us an opportunity to get to know our neighbors, but also really learn what the true need is in the community instead of us coming in and saying, okay, this is what you need, listen to us. We have been listening to the community and they've been helping us, but we have adopted the approach of allowing the community to help us with the foster piece, with the adoptions and placing animals in the community as well. And not just saying, well, this is a community we get all these calls from. No one deserves to adopt from this community. It's the other way around. We're actually using them not using them, that's the wrong word, but we are partnering with them to be advocates of what we are doing differently in our community instead of the animal control officer pulling up in the truck and saying, I'm here to take your dog, or I'm here to write you a citation. So we are slowly adopting, or they are adapting to us on really understanding what it is that we're doing in the community and the resources that we are bringing into the community, but they're resources that they are asking for. It's not resources that we're just like throwing in front of their faces. With partnerships in the community, I was listening to what you were saying, Alexandra, with the social services piece. Our organization being a county department, I'm the director. I report directly to an assistant county manager, and then that individual reports to the county manager. So I am not kind of drowned into other departments like, the Health and Human Services. I'm a director that reports directly to county leadership. So it helps us really share the messaging and share what it is that we are trying to do and change in our community. So with partnerships, it's been a little easier because we do have a Health and Human Services department within the county. We have social services, we have child protective services, we have a family justice center, we have a juvenile detention center, we have a veterans affairs department. So we have all these departments that are also being supported by nonprofits within our community. And I have slowly been working with the other fellow directors on how do we collaborate all these resources we already have, from staffing to messaging to resources. The individual that I might see in my community or coming into the shelter here needing help might be the same person that social services saw yesterday or last week. So now we're starting to create this cross sharing of information and really trying to get caseworkers from social services to help us with situations that are happening within animal services. I think one of the biggest pieces in partnerships is that we've built a great partnership with 3 different pet boarding facilities in Greensboro. And they have really adopted the foster program. They will take 1, 2, 3 dogs, depending on their space. And they have become our foster ambassadors / adoption ambassadors. So they take on the whole piece of housing and taking care of that dog, providing enrichment, training, grooming, whatever it may be. But they're also advocating for a new home for that dog. And we have been able to place many dogs, especially our heartworm positive or our harder to place dogs, through those partnerships, because they know their clients and they're really advocating for these dogs. So it has really helped us increase some of our placement for our harder to place dogs through these partnerships. And the partnership started because one of the hurricanes, Hurricane Florence, we needed space because we were going to be taking in animals from the coast. And one of those boarding facilities said, hey, send me some of your dogs and we help you create space. And from there, it's just kind of spread. And we're currently working now with another boarding facility to see if they want to partner with us as well. So that way we can create more capacity with the programs we're doing. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is our volunteer program and our foster program. We have different programs for our volunteers to take dogs out, and we call it Dogs Day Out, whether that's 1 day or a week. And we also partner with one of our local universities. We have a lot of universities in Greensboro, and we partner with Guilford College, and their students on Saturday morning will take 7, 8, 10 dogs out to the college campus, and the students will take those dogs and walk them through campus, and they'll have the Adopt Me vest on there, and we'll have one staff member there to help provide support. But it gets the dogs out of the shelter environment, and that our foster coordinator manages that program with the university. Now we have A&T and University of Greensboro, UNCG, also interested in doing similar programs with their schools and their students. Today, we have a group from High Point University here helping volunteer. So yeah, that's kind of like in 5 minutes or less, kind of what we're doing a little differently in the community here in Greensboro.
Yeah, that's really awesome, Jorge. Thanks for sharing all of that with us. I think you found a really, not a way, but really great ways to truly be in your community and be part of your community, not just reaching out to your community. So that is incredible. All right. And the chat has kind of been blowing up while the 3 of you have been talking. So I think this might be a good time to start our Q&A. Let me scroll up to the top of the chat and see where our first questions are. If we miss your questions or don't have a chance to get to them, I apologize. But we can continue this conversation at the Maddie's Pet Forum. Holly, you were our first speaker. And Sarah, you had a question about, was there a measurable impact after you started incentivizing distinct foster groups with merch, and what merch performs the best?
Yeah, so I can't really speak to any like measurable improvement in the animals that have been placed as we've just started incentivizing. So I don't have any data on that yet. And we don't have all the merch in. So unfortunately, I don't have the data behind that quite yet, but we're very hopeful that it will incentivize foster parents to take, our harder to place animals. So everyone likes swag. Everyone, people will run marathons for a t-shirt. So
everyone loves free
stuff. T-shirts.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right. And
do you think that, sorry, Sarah. Really quick, do you think that t-shirts perform the best? Do you think that people respond, or they most incentivized by t-shirts or by the yard signs? I like the yard signs a lot.
Yeah, well, the yard signs are... Yeah, so I guess our hope with the incentives is, one, that we place our harder to place animals into foster, but two is also like word of mouth foster recruitment, right? So like the yard signs, people are gonna be driving past them, walking their dog, like, I can do that. We also have like a QR code on the yard sign, so they can just take their phone out and like it goes directly to the foster website. Okay. And like the same thing with like t-shirts, and we want like t-shirts made, and we're getting like stickers made. All of these, people like slap a sticker on a water bottle, like, oh, that's a cute sticker. Are you foster for Kitsap Humane Society? So I think all of it is going to play a part. I just can't say like what is going to be the most successful. It could always surprise you, right? Like the lawn signs could be the most popular thing. So we'll see. I'll have to keep you all posted on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah. While we're talking about the yard signs, there was somebody who asked to see a picture of them. So if you would be able to put a picture in the Maddie's Pet Forum group for us, that would be awesome.
Sure can.
Thank you. All right. And then we have a question from Tristan Hogg. That I think, Holly, this is for you too. Do you have a quarantine period following Panluke, Parvo, and Ringworm pets in foster? If so, how long is that quarantine? And if not, how do you navigate the biosecurity aspect surrounding that?
Wow, what a question. Okay, so I will start by, in general, all of our foster parents who foster kittens and puppies, we ask them to quarantine their kittens and puppies for 2 weeks. And that is just because it's a typical incubation period for most, illnesses. And by quarantine, we're talking about like a fully sanitizable space, right? So like if they do end up, unfortunately like popping with Panluke or something like that, that space can be fully sanitized and the rest of their home hasn't been like compromised. So that's kind of like a base rule. For like a Panluke or Parvo positive animal going into foster, we treat the symptoms and then we wait until they're no longer having symptoms, and then we count down from 2 weeks. At that point, we'll then retest and see if they're still in fact positive before we usually have the foster parent give them a bath and then bring them back to the shelter. If it's like a potentially exposed situation, we put them into foster. We have that 2 week quarantine in place. If they never show any symptoms of Panluke or Parvo, then we test them again after that 2 weeks, and then they can be adopted out after that point. But again, if they like end up developing symptoms within that 2 weeks, we then start treatment and then wait again until they are not showing symptoms and wait 2 weeks after that point. Does that make sense? I could also write that in the form because I feel like that's a very wordy answer.
Yep, that would be awesome. Yeah. The more information that we can put into the forum, the better. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you. All right, our next question comes from Melissa Nicely. We struggle with getting fosters to take pit mixes, for we have no background information. Any suggestions? So I think any of Holly or Jorge or Alexandra, anyone who has any thoughts on that?
I think it's really speaking to that every pet is an individual, and also really speaking to the research on our pitty-esque friends, and just how truly wonderful they are, but then also to how much stigma exists. I really try to halt those conversations like immediately where they are by speaking to those stigmas, and then also like the data for why those stigmas shouldn't exist. And just more so respond with like links to those articles and let those articles do the speaking for me, because I think the people who want to foster for your organization, people who want to foster those wonderful friends are going to do so regardless. So it's important not to waste your bandwidth on people that might not be like advocates of those dogs. And then maybe if you have like a cute hound or Yorkie pal, to connect them to those dogs.
Yeah, I would say like in our foster pool, we're pretty lucky. I feel like we have lots of pitty fans, and I think this might have something to do with me being like an ultimate pitty fan. They're my favorite, and I'm always posting my pitty on like the Facebook page. She's kind of like almost like the mascot of the foster program. She's always getting posted on the Facebook page to get like pick for attention. But I think like when it comes to like the marketing aspect of, you know, your bully type dogs who might not find foster as quickly as like a cute little fluffy Yorkie would or something like that, is like Alexandra was saying, every dog is an individual. So in their little write-up for the foster request, putting lots of like personal details in there, you know, talking about they love like going on walks and, you know, sniffing everything, and little personality traits about them, and really good photos and like video content of them like interacting with you or other foster parents to show, you know, like, look how sweet this dog is. You know, there might be a stigma against pitties, but you know, this dog is an individual and we're going to treat it that way. So
I just linked the Animal Farm Foundation, but they are incredible. My pit bull is family also. Shannon is on the call, and she is both a colleague and friend, and they are doing incredible work. So I'm going to link them as well. But those are incredible organizations if you want to speak to those things and get people involved in the advocacy work.
Awesome. All right. We've got several requests actually in the chat for your behavior, or for any behavior and training plans. Several folks are asking for those. So if y'all have those and are willing to share them, I think probably Maddie's Pet Forum might be the best place to link to those. So that would be great. All right, and the next question after that, how do you support fosters who have most or all of their animals die or suffer serious medical crises? That's a tough one.
I think that is more, and that's maybe a same question. So again, I'll be sure to include her email in the forum, but I do think just being as compassionate and engaged as we can with our fosters. Our fosters are providing such life-saving support to the pets that they're supporting, and then also our community. So making sure that they are seen and recognized and celebrated, that they gave this pet the best day of their lives. For our hospice friends, we actually add them to our alumni group. And so, you know, when those pets do pass, they have a community around them celebrating how much they committed to that pet's life and the love between.
Yeah, and similar to Alexandra, just leading with compassion. We also, I mentioned we have a foster Facebook page, and we have a very active community on there, and we always encourage foster parents to post on there so they can get support from their peers. We also we try to get, depending on the situation, like a paw print for the foster parent, or like a handwritten card from foster staff and the veterinary staff who kind of were part of this animal's life.
Oh, that's really sweet. That's great. Okay. Let's go on to maybe a lighter question. Shelly Joaquin has a question about resources for virtual fosters that assist in the promotion of animals that have been staying at the shelter for longer stays. Who wants to take that one?
We recently started something like this, and so I'm not in charge of that program, but I can definitely reach out to the behavior manager and see if we have resources on that and put them in the forum.
Great.
Just a quick shout out to Canva. It is free to nonprofits, and also they have like a free plan for individuals. That is fantastic for just like great fun graphics to just kind of, get your animal out there. Sometimes it's really just a matter of the way that you're presenting the animal. So Canva is just awesome.
Yeah, Alexandra, did you say that there was, I don't know if you mentioned it, I might have not heard it, that you get it for free if you're part of a nonprofit? You get Canva Pro? Yeah, mm-hmm. So I learned that probably at the start of the year. So if you apply as a nonprofit, you get Canva Pro for free, which has been a lifesaver when making like foster materials and whatnot.
And Canva's pretty easy to learn if you're not familiar with it. So those of you who've never tried it before, don't be afraid of it. It's fairly easy, very drag and drop. All right, next question comes to us from Lindsay Frontes, I believe, is how you pronounce your last name, Lindsay. For those with a safety net program, how do you recruit fosters specifically for those programs? We're trying to find a batch of people for our safety net program strictly dedicated to taking in those animals so we don't have to hold up our current fosters.
So I did answer this more in the chat, but just to reiterate, we have, it's definitely, again, a community effort. We have roughly 7 dozen temporary care fosters that are incredibly passionate for keeping pets with the families who love them. And we really do use storytelling to promote that program. Most of us will go through a challenge or a crisis or multi-crises in our lives. What if that meant permanent separation from the pets that we hold dear, that are our family? And this is how we can prevent that. And so storytelling is definitely the way to recruit. I will say that you are going to have fosters that are equally passionate for crisis fostering as they are our traditional model. So I would say maybe 25% of our crisis fosters also foster for, our neonates or our foster ambassadors or FOSPIS or what have you. But we really like to celebrate that. How incredible is it to have that advocate in both areas? And again, I think the more we focus on storytelling and sharing those stories, the more you're going to see your numbers grow. And then you won't have that concern of are crisis fosterings not being able to dedicate themselves to our in-shelter needs? Storytelling 1,000%. We also, for domestic violence, we don't share media just because of safety concerns. But for every other case, as long as that pet family consents, we really try to share those stories of reunion, share what that program meant. On our temporary care page, we have some stories highlighted, and every photo on our temporary care page is a reunited family made possible through temporary care. So as much storytelling as you can incorporate, do that. And then also before you even start that program, or maybe you're just starting it, make sure that your storytelling outside of that program also aligns, because if you're just emphasizing the human-animal bond when you're speaking to crisis fostering and not in your day-to-day as a shelter or rescue or animal advocacy group, it's not going to connect, So yeah, just storytelling.
Great. All right. So there's, I think one last question. One of the speakers, this is from Alexis Vital. One of the speakers said they had additional videos and training information for fosters that want to learn more. So if y'all have those videos, if you want to just put them in Maddie's Pet Forum, that would be great. All right, and then we've got a couple more minutes, and I know Jessica Schlater from Adoptimize wanted to say something really quick. So Jessica, floor is all yours.
Hey everyone, I'm the CEO of Adoptimize, and Adoptimize is making 3 of your Foster's custom pet portrait mug as part of this challenge. You just need to sign up by April 30th. I'll drop the link in the chat, so just make sure your shelter signs up. We're really excited about this.
All right. Well, Holly and Alexandra and Jorge, we so appreciate you all being here today and all your great information and words of wisdom.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was super fun connecting with everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I will see you on the Pet Forum.
Thank you.